And we're live on YouTube, Chair.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. This is the Shareholder Cabinet Committee, and it's Monday, the 14th of June. I'd like to start by welcoming those members of the public and press who will be watching the live stream of this meeting through the Council's YouTube page. In order that this meeting runs smoothly, please ensure that you keep your video on at all times and that your microphone is muted, except when you're invited to speak. Any member wishing to speak should indicate this by clicking the raised hand function in the participants or reaction screen. Should we run into technical problems, I will declare an adjournment whilst the fault is addressed. If the problem cannot be fixed, the meeting will be adjourned until such time as this can be reconvened. If your connection fails during the meeting and you're unable to reconnect, one of the DEM services team will contact you. Finally, I would remind members that all virtual meetings are recorded. And before we move on to the first item, I would like to begin by calling the names of Shareholder Cabinet Committee members to establish their presence. Councillor Bisbee.
Present.
Councillor Coles.
Present, thank you.
Councillor Walsh.
Yes, present. Good morning.
I believe that Councillor Howard is also present, or at least due to be present at today's meeting as an observer only. We have some apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received from Councillor Ayres, and Councillor Bisbee is attending as her substitute. And we also now have apologies for Councillor Soreste, who is unable to attend. Can I ask for any declarations of interest, please?
There are no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you, Pippa. Can we now move on to the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of March 2021? Anybody propose those minutes as being acceptable?
Yes, Chair, I'll propose them.
Thank you, Councillor Walsh. I was also in attendance, so I'm happy to second. It's a short agenda today. And item 4 is delivery of leisure services since October the 1st, 2020 by Peterborough Limited. The officers presenting are Peter Carpenter and Adrian Chapman, but I believe that Jamie Fenton is with us in place of Adrian Chapman. Excuse me. Do you need to, I see we have Kitrin Easton. Are you presenting as well, Kit?
Chair, yes, I'm just here in case any additional questions are needed from Peterborough Limited, okay. But Pete's going to do the heavy lifting.
Thank you. Now, do you want to go straight into the presentation, Peter or Jamie, or will we take it as read?
Take it as read, Chair. I'm just going to give a few high-level bullets, and really Jamie and Kitrin are the two who have the real expert knowledge. As we all know, the services for leisure and culture transferred back from Vivacity on the 1st of October last year. And this is about the leisure services and what's happened over the last 6 months and how we are looking going forward. At the next shareholder committee, we are having something on culture. So that will be happening at the next meeting. We have a monthly cultural and leisure partnership board, which is trying to drive forward strategy and looking at budget and other things in terms of how we deliver and what we do and don't deliver. In terms of overall numbers, we're struggling to actually assess affordability at the moment because ever since Peterborough Limited took over leisure, leisure's not really been open to any great degree. And we started to open and then we've had lockdown since. And at the moment, we are open on a limited basis because of social distancing. Although we have had some very positive feedback on things like having the Lido open from the 1st of April onwards. This, of course, makes things quite difficult in terms of numbers. We, over the years, have given leisure and culture overall a subsidy of about just under £2 million. What we're looking at is that affordable going forward, but that's very difficult to assess given the present state of leisure services because of government regulations. At a high level in overall terms, which isn't in this report, I mean, there's reports from the LGA that councils across the country are looking at about a third of leisure services. and how that they are going to be delivered, because at the moment they're really struggling to deliver there. We know that significant numbers of third-party contractors to local government are struggling with their affordability envelopes at the moment. At Peterborough Limited, we successfully bid for £500,000 for reopening of services back in January, February time. We thought we bid for quite a bit more, but we only, despite doing everything we said and saying, actually, this won't happen because you're locked down. They told us to fill in forms a certain way, and then we had to change them slightly because they realised they were wrong. We've then only got a certain percentage of the money in the old financial year because they said we can't have the money because the services haven't opened. To which we said, well, didn't we tell you that before? But anyway, we've still got some money there to look at. In terms of the market, what the report also sets out is we want to extend both culture and leisure services delivery from our, if you like, in-house providers, Peterborough Limited and City Culture Peterborough, by 3 years, because we think it will take that amount of time for the markets to get back to any sense of normality. And also there's significant work that needs to be done in terms of leisure services to move the services forward, take them from where they were with Vivacity to a new place in terms of taking advantage of the economies of scale and different structures we have in terms of back office in particular, but other ways of working that both Peterborough Limited and City Culture Peterborough Limited have. So that's my brief introduction. Happy to open it up for questions in terms of, one, what we've done over the last now 9 months and what we're looking forward to over the next few years, the reasons for the extension and the leisure services in general. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Peter. We have a question from Councillor Walsh.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Yes, I can see how difficult things are at the moment, and not just for us, everywhere. My question actually is about, there were a number of discussions about using open green spaces instead of putting all our leisure and fitness plans into closed spaces like gyms. I was rather hoping to see instructors out in green open spaces and doing Tai Chi or jumping up and down or whatever. I think, you know, there was a momentum at one time, and I'm feeling as if that's tailing off, or is that not so? Is it happening behind the scenes?
Jamie, you coming back on that, or Peter?
Let Jamie answer that one, please.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely right. Great point. And I think the momentum is still there. I think it's the difficulty of where we do that sort of activity and provide that service. But we are part of the active lifestyles and sports strategy we're working on at the moment about refreshing is around parks, green open spaces. And we're doing some work with the Future Parks Accelerator at the moment as well about bringing more services and activity into those areas. And I know that the Peterborough Limited team are exploring that at the moment about can they do that sort of outside the front doors in some of their facilities, but also take it around to the neighbourhoods as well, so it's more out of the bricks and mortar area, but it is still being explored.
Yes, thank you.
You have a supplementary.
Yes, I just come back a little bit on that. Can you give some sort of idea, Jamie, of what that timeline would be? Because here we are in the summer, weather glorious. This is the perfect time for people to start, you know, getting out there, exercising. Is it too soon to expect anything? And, you know, I mean, I do understand, I'm a member of Premier Fitness myself, and I know how long certain staff have been on furlough. And it's just a pity that we seem to have staff that are not working, and yet we have space that's not being used. So if you could give sort of some idea when that might happen.
Of course, I don't know if Kit wants to come in a second on that one. One thing I would just mention on that is we are doing some work at the moment. We've got some more outdoor table tennis tables going in. So we are launching the activity there in a couple of weeks' time, where we put 6 in last year, and we've got 5 that have been installed. Mostly were last week. We've got another one to be installed in a couple of weeks. So we will be activating them. We've got some activation program with 2 local clubs going to take place. I don't know if Kit wants to pop in here with some activity from her team.
Yeah, we did run some outdoor classes, and we have still a few in progress. So when we weren't allowed to run classes indoors, we shifted some of them outdoors, not always in parks. Some of them were in car parks, but at Warrington, we did do them in the outdoor green space as well. Some proved very popular, some less so. The popularity of those has decreased since the normal classes have been able to open up, but we think there is still a channel there we can do better and improve on going forward. We have very, very few staff who are left on furlough now, if any. If we do, there's for a very specific reason. We don't have mass staff being furloughed. If anything, we are looking for more staff at the moment because we lost quite a few during lockdown, and we obviously need to keep the quality of our service quite high. One of the things we are doing is looking at a new IT system that sits behind all of leisure. So that will allow us to be more flexible and go out and about to places. We need to make sure that whenever we're going out, we're safe and we can log who's there and everything like that. It's a little difficult with our current options that we've got, but we hope that they will be improving and in for the autumn, but we'll see what we can do in the meantime for you, Councillor.
Thank you, Kitron. Before I go to Councillor Coles, if I can just come in with a question. As this falls in my portfolio, clearly I'm fairly very active with what is happening. And one thing that does concern me, Jamie, is that our progress with the active lifestyles refresh, is that being hampered by the fact that we can't get at many of the facilities that facilitate the ability to have outdoor active lifestyles?
We're still working on that, Councillor Allen, at the moment. But part of the reason we're holding it up is we want to bring this in line with Sport England's new 10-year strategy it just finalised its consultation last week. And then following that in the autumn, they're going to release their funding framework element. So we want to link to that so we can align it together. But we are working with our county partnership, so Living Sport, and we are going to refresh that. And we always said that we would do that sort of parallel with the culture work that we're doing as well. So there is work going on behind the scenes. But as Kitron's just, sort of commented on there, we are restricted. So and on certain elements indoors, because obviously even at the moment, even though the majority of the facilities are open, they're only up to a capacity, which is causing issues in terms of how many people can actually get through the doors.
Thank you, Jamie. Councillor Coles.
Thank you, Chair. I've got two questions really. The first relates to children's play. I've had quite a lot of inquiries within my own ward about the ability of children to play. A lot of the playground areas are probably requiring some maintenance. I don't know if that falls under you or under the council still, but the second question was about how independent providers could deliver what they would normally be delivering in community centres and so on in the open air. So, for example, sports activities in our parks and how they would be licensed, and whether that would be something that would be managed through this partnership or whether it would be managed elsewhere. Thank you.
I'll come in on that one. Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, so I do work with some community groups and sports groups, recreational groups, and again, if they're looking for an outdoor space rather than their traditional indoor area, I'll work with colleagues within parks, green open spaces, depending on what activity they're delivering will depend on if they need a licence or not, and we'll work with the relevant departments to broker that through to make sure that, if people are there providing a service that is good for health and well-being within the community, of course, we want to see that drive forward. So if there are any groups or anybody out there wants to find out more, please feed them through to me and I'll help them as much as I can.
And in terms of the playgrounds, we are in the middle of a process of upgrading a number of them at the moment. So it's a rolling programme at the moment. I think we've got about £400,000 to do it from memory. And so that's going as we go. But I think we've got something like 56 different playgrounds. We've got a significant number within Peterborough that we're upgrading at the moment or trying to.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks. I've got a supplementary, if I may, Chair. I'm quite interested in the playgrounds that we have generally, excuse me, for younger children. But have you had any consideration for more adventure parks for older children and teenagers? Because I know there's a gap in the market for that.
So as part of the work with the Parks Accelerator work that we're doing at the moment, exactly that. So there has been some light touch consultation work gone out, and one area that we're exploring for Peter is a parkour park, which is the outdoor running type activity, which is well, there's no facility in Peterborough at the moment, so that is being explored in one of the parks at the moment. Obviously, as Pete said then, I think there's 50 odd parks at the moment, and they're going through a process. Some have been updated and replaced. There's more work going on, and again, we're looking at pump tracks, skate parks, BMX pieces. Outdoor gyms obviously are quite popular at the moment, but it's getting that right balance across the city. But yeah, absolutely, we're having to look at what else we can do for the older children.
Thank you, Councillor Cole. Thank you, Jamie. Can I just ask how the booking system goes for the kind of facilities that the questions are coming in about? I mean, I am conscious, and maybe this is for Kitron, that there has been some pushback from customers, we'll call them, who use the all-weather pitches for football training and then were unable to get hold of them or be aware of how they booked them. Has that been addressed now, please?
I don't believe we've got an ongoing issue at the moment, but I'll double check, Councillor. In terms of the rest of our booking systems, we're limited by the technology we've got, and it's maybe not as user-friendly as we might like at the moment. That's the new project we hope to improve on come the autumn and get something in which is more interactive and more customer-focused. But I'll take away your point and get the team to confirm it.
Yeah, it wasn't a specific question. I just know that from my emails coming in from those users that at one stage there was an issue, and I just wanted it being addressed, because going forward, it's all about communications. People want to get out there and get active, but if they don't know how they can book those facilities, as Councillor Cole's indicated, then it's very difficult, isn't it?
I believe it's all running properly, but I'll do a double check and confirm to you.
Thank you so much. It's Councillor Bisbee, but do you want to come back with something, Jamie, please?
Please, Councillor, thank you. Yeah, just backing up on Kit's point there, I think I've had quite a few inquiries come through to me as well, and I think part of this might just be down to communication, that actually the buildings are open, which means the 5-a-side, 7-a-side, 11-a-side pitches are bookable again. Yeah, maybe we just need to get something out to say that do a bit of a push on that to make sure people know facilities are bookable again now.
Thanks, Jamie. And I think there's no one from comms on the meeting, but maybe we could get comms to do something that would then get the oxygen of publicity on one of the local sites or the PT or wherever. Thanks. Councillor Bisbee.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Actually, Jamie's just about answered my main question, which is about the comms of this, because if people don't know it's on, then they're not going to attend. And having been in a lockdown situation for much of the year, like myself, we've all maybe put on a little bit of weight, or we're trying to keep our weight down. But if we don't know where the best place is, because you need that motivation sometimes from others. But I agree with Councillor Coles as well about the older age group. I mean, we've got a number of skate parks and things around, and the football. And I think, again, as Councillor Cole says, the maintenance of those need to be looked at, because I think maybe they've gone down over the last little while.
Is that for you, Peter, or Kit?
I'll go back, because I know we have a schedule of works for all of those children's play areas that James Conneridge looks after, and I'll just check with James, are there any things that are moving up the urgency, Chair?
Okay, thank you, Peter. Do we have any other questions from members? Well, I believe, therefore, we just have to look at the recommendation that the Shareholder Cabinet Committee note Peterborough Limited's performance in the initial part of the contract since the 1st of October 2020, the proposal to extend leisure services provided by Peterborough Limited for 3 additional years to September 2024 to get through the COVID-19 situation and ensure that there are viable options to compete against at that time. And item 3, the required ongoing client arrangements for the contract and the makeup of the financial remuneration package for Peterborough Limited. Are we all in approval of those recommendations, please?
I agree.
There's no hands raised in objection, Chair.
Okay, we now move on to item 5 then, which is the Cabinet Subcommittee Work Programme. It's on pages 167 to 170 of the agenda. Do we have anything to add to that programme, or are we happy to approve it as it stands? If I can come in at that stage, we are looking at 13th of September for City of Culture Peterborough business plan. I'm not sure whether we are actually looking at City of Culture or City Culture, or whether we're looking at both, because I understood that City Culture is to come before this committee again. So can we just have clarification of that before I go to Councillor Coles?
Chair, that should be City Culture Peterborough. So it's the opposite of Kittren's service.
Right, okay. So City of Culture members, we are moving forward with that. As you know, the Metro Mayor has come forward with a 3-city culture, or a county of culture. That is something that's going through the wash at the moment with our considerations on how we proceed with that. Just for a bit of background. So that is City Culture Peterborough.
Right.
Remove the word of, please, Pippa, if we can republish that work schedule. Sorry, Councillor Coles, I'm coming to you now, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just thinking, bearing in mind the conversation we've had about comms, do we need to look at the communication of all of the activities as a separate item, because clearly we don't have a representative here, and I'm sure these sort of questions will come up time and time again.
Yeah. So is that a further recommendation, Pippa, that we can take forward, that we need to address the comms better on this?
Yes, if you wanted to add something to the work programme, that's
Okay.
fine. You can do that.
Peter Carpenter?
Thank you, Chair. I just to comment on, again, the 13th of September, it's going to be quite a heavy meeting, because if you flip the page over, we've got the Peterborough Higher Education Property Company, which of course is the university. So I think that will be quite a meaty item.
Right, okay. So are we saying we take something out of the 13th of September and move it forward to the 8th of November?
I would suggest maybe the either the MPS update or Opportunity Peterborough, just so those 3 items, because I think City Culture Peterborough could also be quite meaty, because
Yes.
we'll have no end of things to back up what she wants to do.
Yeah. I think the Opportunity Peterborough one is something we need to address fairly quickly, certainly with the activities in Northminster, because the public will be conscious, and indeed officers will need to tell us things, and members will need to know things about what the Opportunity Peterborough is doing. So you're suggesting we move out which one?
NPS.
Okay, cool. Are we all happy with that? So NPS update deferred to the 8th of November, yeah?
Yeah. And then should we, in what's just been proposed in terms of communications plan, should we have just a report that comes to the 13th of September meeting, or actually could be circulated before the 13th of September meeting on what the communications plans are for each of the areas?
Yeah. Members' views?
Meeting, does it? Because I think it's slightly more urgent than that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, yeah. So we're saying a report we circulate to members of this committee before we then next meet. Is that your proposal?
Yes.
Yeah. Councillor Coles?
Yes, very happy with that. Thanks very much.
Thank you. You've got a legacy hand showing, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Bisbee, you happy? Councillor Walsh? Yeah, okay. Pippa, have you picked up on those?
Yep, so City of Culture to become City Culture, comms report to be circulated to the meeting before September, and then to move NPS back to November.
Great, okay. Are we all happy with the proposed work schedule?
Yeah, no, it seems to cover everything now. because I think there's about 8 companies we own, so we have to make sure we do it at least once in every cycle.
Yeah. Okay. If we're all happy with the work programme, it looks as though that brings this meeting to an end.